All right, today we are doing another for and against card series. We're going to be doing today Black Widow, which is a hero that I think when she first came out was super hyped. People were really interested in her because of the way a lot of her cards work. They're pretty interesting with the prep cards. And then she got kind of boring and people messed around with things. And I shouldn't say she got boring. We kind of were doing the same thing over and over. And then she kind of got maybe like a little bit of more life to her. And then people tried some different things and now she's kind of just fallen to the wayside again. It feels like that again, that's not that she's a bad hero or anything like that. Not trying to set the stage for that. It's just that we've done a lot with Black Widow at this point, and with the upcoming Shield box, I actually thought about keeping this hero not done for a while, but if we just have to come back to another video and like address like this stuff, then we can. That shouldn't be an issue. But anyway, for this series, basically what we do is we look through older heroes, we make arguments for them, we make arguments against them, mainly focusing on the hero cards that they have and maybe some of the builds that are going on. So before we dive into this, we first have to talk about today's channel sponsor, Kingdom Come Cards. Now, you've heard me talk about Kingdom Come Cards before, but for those that don't know, if you're looking to expand your card game collection without breaking the bank, Kingdom Come Cards has you covered. Whether you need sealed products or specific singles, they make it easy to find everything in one place at reasonable prices. For new players, their bundled products are perfect for expanding your collection and getting the heroes or villains you want, all while saving money. Not ready for that big investment? No problem. You can start small and grow at your own pace. Or if you're a player who loves building multiple decks without constantly swapping cards, they've got you covered. Plus, if there's a hero that you're not interested in, but you want specific cards from their pack, they can help you save money by only buying what you need. Make sure to check out the link down below to their website of kingdomcomecards.com. All right, so we're going to be diving into first Natasha Romanoff, the alter ego of Black Widow. I totally drew a blank there for like a hot second. Anyway, so she starts with a 3 recovery. You all know my stance on 3 recovery so far. It is the lowest amount of recovery you have. It is the most of any hero that is out there, but it is tied for the lowest. I do wonder though if we're ever going to hit a 2. Right? Would that be weird? Would it be weird to have a 2 recovery? Maybe, I don't know. Anyway, she has 3 recovery. She's a shield and spy. We've had some things with spies, but not a ton, right? We had some stuff in this deck, and then Remy LeBeau came with some spy cards as well, which I feel like didn't really do much for her. I feel like there wasn't really anything like to write home about with her with that. So anyway, mission prep response: after you play a preparation card, deal or draw 1 card. Jeez, I can't talk today. So you get to draw 1 card, a limit once per phase. This is actually really nice. This is one of the things with Black Widow that you want to be flipping down constantly to trigger this mission prep because it's pretty cool in the way that works. The shield stuff we did get with the Miles Morales deck, I guess is the best way to put it. We got a bunch of shield cards, and she can run a shield build really well. But realistically, and especially in true solo, you're probably running Black Widow in Injustice for the most part. Now, there are other builds that work too, but we'll get into that later. Then we have our hero side, 222 stat line, which is phenomenal. It's absolutely great stat line. I love it. Oh, I forgot to mention, she was a 6 hand size in alter ego, 9 hit points. 9 hit points is a bit lower. It's one of the lower hit points, really. So that is, you gotta be careful with that, right? You don't want to get hit in the face too many times. But anyway, 222 stat line is a really good stat line. I really like it. She's an Avenger spy, which is fine. Again, they haven't really done a ton with spy. Hopefully, they do in the future. She's not shield on this side, which makes me a little bit worried about future shield cards. Like, how would they really affect her? Maybe they help, maybe they don't. I don't really know. And she drops to 5 hand size, keeps her 9 hit points. So, Widowmaker is a response after you trigger the ability of a preparation card you control, deal 1 damage to an enemy, which is a pretty cool response because it's not limited, right? So, if you were able to trigger 10 prep cards, you would trigger all like you would do 10 damage essentially to an enemy, right? Not 10 altogether, but like 1 and 1 and 1 and 1. It's also not an attack, which is important to note because if you were to be facing someone with retaliate, they would not retaliate against you because it's not an attack. Dealing damage is not the same as that. So could be worthwhile. All right, so we have her Winter Soldier signature ally. Bucky Barnes is a 4 cost, 2/4 stat line, 1 consequential damage for each of those, which is expensive, right? It's expensive, but you can reduce the cost to play Winter Soldier by 1 for each prep card. I'm sorry, preparation. I'm going to keep calling it prep cards, preparation card you control, which is really nice. Again, if you control 4 of them, he's free. That's great. So that's pretty strong, pretty good, as long as you get some prep cards. I don't like playing Winter Soldier at a 4 cost. 3 cost isn't bad. 2 cost is great. Personally, anything below 2 is phenomenal. Three I'll probably do for the most part, unless I have something like really good in my hand. But 4 always feels a bit too expensive for him and for what he's doing, so I don't really do that. But especially 2 costs and below, I think it's really strong as a signature ally. And again, he's not doing anything too fancy. He's just got a good amount of health. You could do a what is it, a sidekick build, right, with him to heal him up and deal damage, and then Voltron him out by adding extra attachments to him so that, he starts swinging for 3 or thwarting for 3 or whatever it may be. We have done that build before if you do leadership with Black Widow, or if you, I guess, theoretically, if your teammate was leadership and then they gave it to you, maybe that would work too. But there are some good builds you can do around Bucky to kind of build him out. And this way, Black Widow can kind of focus on defense. We'll talk about that in a second. And then the Winter Soldier can kind of focus more on offense stuff, which is an interesting build. I've done it a few times. It changes the game up, which is nice. All right, so then we have Covert Ops. This is her 3 cost event thwart card. All right, so it's Covert Ops, 3 cost event. Action, thwart, remove 4 threat from a scheme. Not that great, but you do get to confuse the villain, which is great because as we kind of stated, you do want to be able to flip down to get that alter ego with the prep cards and get that all set up to draw cards, and then you trigger them and you deal damage and blah, blah, blah. Very, lots of combos, right? Very combo-y with Black Widow, which is a really nice feeling with her. So Covert Ops, good card. I think there's 2 of them? Yeah, there's 2 of them. So solid card. 3 for 4 threat removal, not good, but being able to confuse the villain is great. The only downside with this now is that there are a lot of steady and stalwart villains out there. So stalwart, this card, not that it's useless, but man, it's not great. A steady villain, it's okay, right? You can get by, it'll be all right. So that's not too bad. But like a lot of early heroes, it feels like steady and stalwart has kind of slowed them down. Again, doesn't make them useless. It just slows them down as an important thing to note. All right, so then we have Dance of Death. How many are there? 2 Dances of Deaths. So this is a tricky card. All right, so Dance of Death is a 3 cost event. It's an attack, hero action, but it doesn't have attack next to it, which is weird. Though I think they eroded it recently. Make the following 3 attacks in order. So this confuses a lot of people because I'm 90% sure on this, that even though it would normally say like hero action parentheses attack, like it did for Covert Ops, right, which is action, which we forgot to mention, Covert Ops can be done on your alter ego side. I completely forgot that, and that's a thing. You can remove 4 threat from a scheme as alter ego because it's just an action, right? It's not an alter ego action. It's not a hero action. It's just an action. So you can do that on your alter ego side, which is important to note. I should have mentioned it before. I apologize, but we got there. Didn't I tell you Black Widow could be a little tricky at times. So Dance of Death is what we just said. There's action for the Covert Ops, which puts the parenthesis around thwart. The hero action Dance of Death doesn't have the attack, but I'm pretty sure they've ruled it that it's basically an attack because it says you do 3 attacks in order. So deal 1 damage to an enemy, then deal 2 damage to an enemy, and then deal 3 damage to an enemy. These are 3 separate instances of attacks. If you ever have questions on how this interacts with like retaliate or boosting the attacks or whatever, go down below. There's a link to the Discord. We have a whole rules section, which is all like forum based, so you can easily search and look it up, or you can ask the questions and a professional will be there to help you because that's what we do. But yeah, there's a lot of questions that get around with like instances of attack and how they affect things, and it's very confusing. It still confuses me to this day too. So you're always welcome to come in the Discord and ask those type of questions. But overall, let's say you attack the same enemy, right? Let's say you're not boosting the attack. Let's say there's no retaliate, like nothing confusing. Let's just go basic here. Basically, it's a 3 for 6 damage card, which is terrible, right? Like it's not good. 3 for 8's the standard, and you're running 3 for 6. Now, what makes it nice is that you're spreading out that damage. And this was one of our first cards to really spread damage like this. I can't think of any off the top of my head. I'm sure they exist. I'd like Shield Throw with Captain America did it. So I know they exist, but like this kind of specific, like you have to discard cards to deal damage or whatever, right? There's very few of them at the time. So being able to ping a damage off, maybe it's a tough, right? Ping the tough off, and then you can deal 5 damage to enemy. That's nice. That's can be incredibly powerful. If there's a bunch of minions, being able to knock out a bunch of minions with this card, really nice. It can be really strong. So there's good uses for this card, but it's not as powerful as some of the other cards we have seen or will see. And again, if the standard is 3 for 8 in damage, this is her big attack. And yeah, it kind of falls. It doesn't fall flat. It's just not as strong as you would like to say, but it's very versatile, right? That's, to me, that's Black Widow kind of in a nutshell. She's not overly strong or anything like that, but she's very versatile. It feels very thematic. They did a really good job with, in my opinion, with theme for Black Widow. All right, so then we get her Safe House number 29. This is a 1-cost support. It's a location shield card. Alter Ego action. Exhaust Safe House number 29 and choose a preparation card in your discard palette and add that card to your hand. Again, you have to be Alter Ego, but you're going to be flipping down a ton, so you should be Alter Ego. This is a good card. You're going to be triggering your prep cards, which is going to usually, I think all of them get discarded. And when they get discarded, you're probably going to want them back, right? This is her whole hook, and we're going to be getting into her prep cards soon. So this card is very good because you're going to be flipping down. When you flip down, you can exhaust it to get one of those prep cards, hopefully play it to draw another card from her Alter Ego side, hopefully play play or whatever you want to do with those cards. The next hand, do the same exact thing, right? Play a prep card in the beginning, get to draw a card because you trigger the thing, right? Like, you can kind of see how it builds upon itself. It's very weird to get working as a solo player. As a multiplayer hero, it's much easier in my opinion. Solo is a little tricky, and again, this is why it led into a lot of people playing her in Justice, because you wanted to flip down so much for cards like this and her Alter Ego ability. All right, so now we're getting into prep cards. So let's start with Acrobatics. It's a 1-cost upgrade. It's an attack, preparation, and skill. Hero Interrupt. Important. Hero Interrupt. I think almost all of these are Hero Interrupts. So if any of them would trigger on your Alter Ego side, unfortunately, or if you're on your Alter Ego side, you couldn't trigger any of these. So that does kind of stink. But anyway. So Hero Interrupt attack. When a boost card is turned face up, discard Acrobatics, cost arrow, cancel the boost icons on that card, and deal 1 damage to the villain for each boost icon canceled this way. So this is great because this basically scales. It's not a force interrupt, so you can choose when to use it. So yeah, you turn it face up, you see, oh, hey, that's like 3 boost icons, 4 boost icons, if you're playing like Loki or something like that. Okay, discard Acrobatics, deal 4 damage. It's 4 less damage to you and 4 damage to the enemy. And on top of that, you would then trigger Widowmaker, her response. After you trigger the ability of a prep card you control, deal 1 damage to an enemy. So again, if you're dealing with minions or whatever on top of it, you get to deal the boost icon damage to the villain, and then deal 1 damage or whatever to an enemy, which is really nice too. Again, working on minions. This is one of the things I think is pretty strong with her, is that she is able to kind of deal with minions and other enemies, just generally speaking. So it's, like I said, versatile, not overpowered. It's Acrobatics, there's 2 of them. All right, so then we get Black Widow's Gauntlets, a 1-cost upgrade. There's 2 of these. Yeah, 2 of these cards. Tech upgrade. Resource. Exhaust Black Widow's Gauntlet to generate a wild resource for a preparation card, which is nice. Hopefully you're running through these cards constantly. It would have been nice to run it for other Black Widow cards as well, but that's okay, right? That's okay. The prep cards are what you're going to be leaning into, so that's quite fine. I don't know if we really needed 2, but I guess I'll take it, right? I'm not going to get too mad about it. All right, then we have a Grappling Hook. There are 2 of these, I believe. Yeah, 2 of these. Prep cards, 2-cost upgrade, preparation and tech. Hero Interrupt. When you reveal a treachery, discard Grappling Hook, cancel the effects of that treachery, and discard it. So, when your favorite YouTuber/streamer D20 Woodworking draws Shadow of the Past, nope. Just knock it out of here, a Grappling Hook. You get to cancel it and discard it, and you get to deal 1 damage to enemy because, again, we triggered our hero ability, which is really nice. So Grappling Hook, I like a lot. I like a lot. If you're a type person, Shadow of the Past, Caught Off Guard, whatever it may be, there's some really nasty villain treacheries nowadays, and it's nice to just kind of get around them all with Grappling Hook and build that out. So that's really nice. All right, Synth Suit. We have to talk a little bit about this card because this was an interesting card. So 3 cost upgrade. It's armor, tech, synth suit. Black Widow gets +1 defense, so her stat line would be a 2/2/3 stat line. Hero response: after you trigger the ability of a prep card you control, exhaust synth suit to ready Black Widow. What was interesting about this led to a wave of people playing Black Widow in protection. For a while, there was perfect protection builds with her because her prep cards are pretty strong with canceling boost icons, being able to deal damage pretty versatilely. I think that's the right way to say that. Being able to deal damage and whatnot, and all these different things. Like, people leaned into protection builds with her, and there's some good ones out there that you can do. Like I said, per protection or defense-based protection, there's some interesting things. And the reason being is because synth suit, and if you ran armored vest on top of it, which would give you another +1 defense, get her up to a 4 defense stat line. It's good, right? It's obviously good. So a lot of people liked this card for that build. I've done it a few times. Again, I'm not really a protection player, so it's hard for me to like accurately judge it. It was nice, sure. It worked fine, sure. But I'm just not great at protection, I think, is what it really comes down to. I think you can make it work. I think it can be fun if you enjoy protection. I'm sure it can be enjoyable for you. But the whole like way that system worked was basically you had to get this card out there, and at 3 cost is kind of expensive. So, but being able to ready up Black Widow was really nice. So it just thinks you have to exhaust the suit, like you can't trigger over and over and over. I get why they did it. That's fine. But it also allows you when you defend, because I found myself basically, even if I wasn't playing protection, I would exhaust and defend when I had 3 defense, because why not? That's a lot. And especially if I knew I was going to be triggering a preparation card, to be able to ready myself up pretty constantly to deal 2 damage next round or remove 2 threat. Either of those things was really good no matter what aspect I was. So Synth Suit, still a really good card in how it works. It's good. It's a really good card, but you kind of have to like be careful building around it. I know a lot of newer players don't always like defending all the time. Defending all the time early on is really strong, generally speaking, especially as you're building out, because you don't really need to do massive amounts of attack, especially from exhausting. It's better to defend, better to build out your upgrades and supports and whatnot, and your allies, I should say. Better to build out your allies and not just have them like cycle through constantly. So anyway, that was a very long-winded thing. Basically say that Sensu is good. Just kind of have to plan around it a bit. All right, and then we have Widow's Bite, which is her last 2 cards. Again, both preparation cards. 1 cost upgrade, Widow's Bite's preparation tech. Again, a hero response, so they're all hero responses. Attack. After a minion enters play, discard Widow's Bite. Deal 2 damage to that minion and stun it. So Widow's Bite was a very controversial card because it basically, you had to decide when it triggered around Quick Strike and whatnot. I think Quick Strike's first, and then Widow's Bite triggers, if I remember correctly. And this was the whole controversy with this and toe-to-toe, and it's a whole big thing. And then they did some weird ruling with it to change it around. It was a mess. I don't even know where it lands nowadays. I just kind of go with the flow on this. But they changed it a bunch. So anyway, again, good prep card. Being able to deal with minions. This is really, again, a part of the versatility of Black Widow that I enjoy is just being able to deal damage to everything, especially minion control. I think she's really strong at being able to do that. This is just another one of those cards that will really help you out with that. All right, so a lot of people ran Black Widow in Justice because of the Justice card she came with. So for example, we had Counterintelligence. You'll still see me run this a lot to this day. It was a 2 cost upgrade for Justice. When any amount of threat would be placed in the main scheme, discard Counterintelligence to prevent 3 of that threat. So you could trigger it several different ways. Pretty strong, right? Spycraft people use, which allowed you to cancel an encounter card and then reveal another one, which was not ideal, but still it was good in case you got a really bad one, right? There were also like Rapid Response is a preparation card, defensive stance. I mean, Rapid Response I use, but I don't play her a lot in whatchamacallit, leadership. There was also Espionage. When people did stuff with that, when the search keyword to an encounter card would be resolved, discard Espionage to draw 2 cards, which is actually an interesting card, especially with how much we get surge now. I feel like you could do like 50 surges. But anyway, there was one for aggression 2 with counterattack and dealing damage and whatnot, whatever. So there haven't been a ton of preparation cards past those. I think there might have been a couple that have crept up. So leaning into the prep builds, I wish there was more options for her. It feels like really there's a couple of justice ones, and that's what makes the most sense. Again, because you want to flip down so much. You want to flip down because you want to be able to draw cards off of her alter ego ability of when you play prep cards. So then you probably want aspect cards in order to do that. And I think there's more justice prep cards than anything else. Like, it just becomes a bit much. It becomes a bit exhausting, really. And the thing is, like, her kit and like the way she works, I believe is like fun, right? I think it's really unique. As if you're judging it just off of like the heroes that have released so far, she definitely felt as one of the more unique heroes, and you can see it in her cards with how the prep cards trigger, how they combo off each other. It's the first like super combo-y kind of like hero that we have. It's a hero that's able to, again, it feels like a human and not a superhero playing. So she's not as strong as some of the other heroes that are out there, but not weak by any means. She could do very well on her own. She is good. So I think it's I think it's a weird hero to kind of wrap your head around a bit. So again, most people played her in Justice, right? Justice was the big way to play her because again, you were flipping down constantly, trigger the prep card ability and alter ego, and then flip up and then trigger a bunch of prep cards, which is a fine way of playing her. I do recommend getting Sensu out early so that you could defend a lot with her because defending 3 is really good. And if you trigger one of those prep cards, you can ready yourself up, which is really good. So all that good, fine. I think past that, people were trying to get it to work in protection. I think if you're a big protection player, it might work a lot, but it was one of those things I couldn't get to work a lot because I'm just not good at protection, and it's kind of rough. Um, Leadership, I'll be honest, I barely used her in leadership. I didn't really like her in leadership. Uh, I'm sure it's fine, right? One of the interesting things with leadership is with the rapid response card. So again, Sensuit states that after you trigger the ability of a preparation card you control, exhaust Sensuit to ready up Black Widow. So what you could theoretically do is exhaust Black Widow, deal 2 attack or thwart for 2, whatever it may be. Then you can use a card like Rapid Response. So after an ally you control is defeated, well, you could defeat your own ally, let's say by exhausting to deal consequential damage to knock him out. Rapid response that ally back in, gets rapid response out there, lets you exhaust Sensu to ready yourself up, right? So it's an interesting way that Black Widow can do 2 extra damage and you get your ally back in, which is interesting. So stuff like that I think is cool. I know people use a lot to target acquired, which is a 1 cost upgrade prep card, max 1 per player. It's upgrade. Hero response: after a boost card is turned face up, discard target acquired to cancel that boost card ability, which again could be nice. There are a lot of good strong boost card abilities, and really I'm using this card to exhaust and then ready everything up and deal damage and all that fun stuff. The canceling of the ability is nice as well, but triggering all the other stuff is really good too. Okay. Then you have aggression, which aggression, again, for those that don't know, like aggression is probably my favorite aspect in this game. I really like it. I think it's really fun and enjoyable. It's tough to work aggression with Black Widow because her kit kind of wants to do its thing and it really wants to chip damage here and there. It wants to do small amounts of damage. It doesn't want to do those massive hits that like a lot of aggression decks want. I don't enjoy her in aggression that much. I just don't think she's as much fun, to be honest, in aggression. And I think it's unfortunate because I think I think it can be good. Um, but there's just a lot of big swing things. I'm not always exhausting the swing with her. Right, her attack card with Dance of Death, it's like kind of doing its own thing, so it doesn't really trigger well with other cards. Maybe it can if you like upgrade it and whatever. It's a very weird build out thing. So you're gonna spend a lot of time, I feel like, with her just wanting to build her out to kind of keep her alive. And her cards are just gonna constantly ping small amounts of damage. I found myself using allies to do a lot of damage, which aggression has strong allies. So that is a route you can go. I feel like aggression events that are heavy attack events aren't always the best way to go. I'd rather get the allies. I'd rather get the supports and upgrades or whatever it may be. Stuff like that, I think, for me, generally works a bit better. Okay, so those are aspects. As far as solo versus multiplayer, let's start with multiplayer because that's the easier one. She's a very good multiplayer hero because she can really help control the board. Again, Dance of Death is interesting because it's an enemy. It's not an enemy you're engaged with, just an enemy. So if my teammates, if I have several teammates and they have one here that has 1 life, one there that has 2 life, and one there that has 2 life, whatever it may be, I can knock all them out with Dance of Death. That's really good. Right? That's really strong. In multiplayer, it's easier to flip down constantly. So being able to flip down with Black Widow to trigger all these things and do all these things, like that's what I want to do with her constantly. Black Widow in general wants to build out a lot, right? She wants to get all these upgrades and supports in play. She wants to get, in my opinion, like Quinn Carrier says, she can get a resource generator. I want Avengers Mansion. I think running a basic deck with her is really strong, like really strong. I have done that a lot. I think there's we can do a video on this. That basic is kind of broken. Not that's too strong. It's not broken. Basic is very, very strong. And to me, she's a candidate of I want to run a lot of basic cards because I think they just make sense for what she's trying to do because I care about her prep card kit the most. And I've leaned into recently more leadership with her. And leadership is great, because I'm really just using rapid response to get back in other heroes that I want to get in. So that's really what it comes down to. It's just the basic kits I think are good. She's very not, I don't want to say self-contained because she works with other cards pretty darn well with prep cards, but there's just a lot going on in her kit that like again combos off itself. So I want to work within that frame. So I think for multiplayer it's really good because you can flip down when you want, flip up when you want. You're pinging damage everywhere. You're setting up. That's the other thing. By pinging damage, especially if you're the Justice player or the leadership player with her. Let's say I'm playing with Thor, hypothetically, or Hulk. I want to set Hulk up or Thor for a massive overkill hit, generally speaking, to take out a minion. Because if it gets me around, usually it will get me around like any retaliate that's going on from like the villain or whatever, any other issues that are going on. Like it usually lets you get around a lot of things, which is nice. It's a good way to set up things. Or if it's just like a minion with a lot of life and we can ping a couple damage so we can overkill it onto the villain, that's just helping us out. So anyway, I think that's what makes her so good is controlling the board and setting her up to do a lot of different things to help like a big hitter, right? If I'm playing 2-player with her, I want the other hero to be a massive hitter. I think that makes the most sense with her. If I had Black Widow with like, I don't know, Captain America. Captain America is very good, but he's very good at controlling the board state and he isn't doing massive amounts of damage. I'd rather have Thor. I'd rather have Hulk. I'd rather have Valkyrie, right? Somebody that can really do massive amounts of damage. I'd rather have them than Black Widow team with someone that couldn't do that, if that makes sense. And again, that might just be a me and how I play, but that's how I kind of look at it. So that's multiplayer. Now for solo, she's very hard to navigate solo, in my opinion. I don't want that to scare people away because I think it's a really fun challenge. I think she's really unique. She's still, if I was to rank like the most unique heroes, which maybe we do sometime, I don't know. I think she's up there in like top 5 or 10, right? I think she's really unique and with her prep cards and how everything triggers and works together. I think she has a really well done kit. I think who was it? Caleb and MJ did a really good job on this kit. A phenomenal job. So kudos to them. So with that being said, it's a good kit, but there's a lot going on, and you kind of have to be careful on how you do things, right? You kind of have to be careful of, flipping down too much because then scheme is going to get out of control. So that's you're going to want to play Justice to keep that in check, and that's why I say like she really becomes a Justice-based hero because you're going to flip down so much, and it's so much harder to do in true solo. So anyway, that's my overall thoughts of her. I don't want to scare people away from playing Black Widow. Again, she's a lot of fun. I really enjoy her. I burned myself out quite a few times playing her because she was so much fun, right? It was really, really enjoyable. Played a ton of her, and then I had to kind of slow down and play less because I was just doing too much. And again, I feel like I always get shoehorned into a Justice build. Leadership isn't bad. I actually enjoy it even for solo. Protection, I know a lot of people like, but it's just not for me usually, and I don't like her built out in protection. It doesn't feel anything unique or interesting to me. And then aggression, I just don't think she works that well in. So anyway, let me know your thoughts, right? Let me know your thoughts down below. Make sure to leave a comment, like, subscribe. Let me know how you like to play her. Do you play her true solo? Do you play her multiplayer? Whatever it may be. And everyone that's become a member here on YouTube, I really appreciate it. We're starting the tiers off at 99 cents. So just for 99 cents a month, you support this channel so much, and I really appreciate it. You get badges and emotes and all that fun stuff. If you ever watch these videos and have emotes, make sure to spam them in the comments so it lets people know, because I appreciate that stuff. And then if you haven't realized yet, we also have a podcast. Like this whole thing will be in the podcast version. So, you know what Black Widow's cards are like. You just want to hear the thoughts behind it. You could just be listening to us on a podcast instead of dealing with YouTube ads. So anyway, I appreciate you all taking time to watch this, and I will see you all next time.